Picture yourself on the windswept hills of southern England in October 1066. The autumn air is heavy with the scent of damp earth, the distant cries of soldiers, and the metallic rhythm of chainmail and swords shifting with every step. The sky is a muted gray, and a sea of banners dances in the wind, each one representing a noble family that will either rise in glory or fall into ruin before the day is done. Drums echo across the fields, announcing a confrontation that will determine the fate of a kingdom. On one side, King Harold II stands at the head of his Saxon warriors. They are loyal, battle-worn men, their bodies still aching from the long march south after their bloody victory at Stamford Bridge. Their shield wall forms an imposing line on the hilltop, a human fortress braced for impact. They know this is the battle that will decide the destiny of England. Across the field, Duke William of Normandy, resolute and calculating, arranges his troops with the confidence of a man who believes he is destined to rule. His cavalry horses paw the earth, their armor glinting under the weak autumn sun, while archers string their bows and infantry stand ready. William's invasion is not a gamble. It is a calculated strike that will change the course of history. The Battle of Hastings was more than a clash of swords. It was a collision of ambition, wealth, and power, a moment when history pivoted on the courage of men and the fortunes of empires. Nearly 1,000 years later, the echoes of 1066 still resonate. History is not a static record. It is a mirror reflecting the patterns of human ambition, the rise and fall of empires, and the ceaseless pursuit of wealth. In today's world, defined by digital economies, shifting geopolitics, and technological upheaval, the lessons of Hastings feel strikingly relevant. Conquest has not disappeared, it has evolved. Where armies once fought over fertile fields and trade ports, nations and corporations now compete for data, digital currency, and global financial dominance. This video will immerse you in the dramatic events of Hastings and draw unexpected parallels to our modern age. We'll explore how a single day of battle transformed England forever, and how its lessons can guide us toward understanding the risks and opportunities of the year 2035. Could there be a new kind of Hastings, silent, digital, and just as decisive? Stay with us to discover the fascinating interplay of history and wealth. And ask yourself, if another 1066 unfolded in 2035, who would rise and who would fall? The story of Hastings begins long before that fateful day in October 1066. To truly understand the battle, we must explore the world of 11th century England, a land of fertile fields, wealthy monasteries, and political uncertainty. England under Edward the Confessor was a prosperous kingdom, but its stability rested on fragile foundations. Edward died childless, creating a power vacuum that sparked ambition in men across Europe. Three formidable claimants emerged: Harold Godwinson, Earl of Wessex and England's most powerful noble, who seized the crown with the backing of the English nobility; William, Duke of Normandy, who claimed that Edward had promised him the throne years earlier and that Harold had sworn an oath to support his claim; Harald Hardrada, the legendary Viking king of Norway, who saw the English crown as the next jewel in his saga of conquest. England's wealth made it irresistible. Its ports brimmed with trade, its farms fed armies, and its silver coinage was the envy of northern Europe. In 1066, controlling England was like seizing the world's most coveted economic asset, a medieval equivalent to dominating today's global markets. The year unfolded like a chess match of war and strategy. In September, Hardrada invaded from the north, only to face Harold's army at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. Harold's men achieved a stunning victory, ending Viking ambitions, but the triumph came at a heavy cost. His army was exhausted, bloodied, and forced to march south almost immediately to confront a new threat: William's Norman forces landing in Sussex. On October 14, 1066, the armies met near the town of Hastings. Harold's shield wall initially held firm against wave after wave of Norman attacks. The Normans employed archers, infantry, and cavalry in coordinated assaults. At one point, a feigned retreat tricked parts of Harold's army into breaking formation, a fatal mistake. Late in the day, Harold fell, struck down, legend says, by an arrow to the eye. His death shattered Saxon morale, and the Normans claimed victory. William's triumph was not merely military, it was economic and cultural. The Normans systematically replaced Anglo-Saxon nobles, confiscating lands and redistributing wealth to loyal followers. Castles sprang up across England, serving as military fortresses and economic command centers. The Domesday Book, compiled years later, catalogued this massive transfer of wealth and property. The lesson? Power and wealth are inseparable, and in moments of upheaval, they move quickly to those who are prepared to seize them. Fast forward to 2025. The weapons have changed, but the game remains the same. Control wealth, secure influence, and dominate the future. Today's Hastings takes place in financial markets, data networks, and AI laboratories rather than muddy fields. The United States and United Kingdom, heirs to vast historical wealth, face increasing pressure from global rivals. Inflation erodes purchasing power, national debts climb, and technological disruption shifts economic power eastward. Meanwhile, emerging economies and corporations act like modern Normans, moving quickly and decisively to capture resources, markets, and digital domains. Digital invasions, cyber warfare, hacking, and data theft can devastate economies overnight, echoing the sudden shock of a Norman cavalry charge. Currency wars. The rise of decentralized cryptocurrencies and state-backed digital currencies challenges the supremacy of the US dollar and British pound. Tech fortresses. Corporations like AI giants and cloud infrastructure providers hold immense power, reminiscent of Norman castles that controlled entire regions. Just as Harold underestimated William's resolve and tactics, many modern leaders risk complacency, assuming their dominance is secure. But history warns, the mightiest fortress can fall if it fails to adapt. The Norman conquest reshaped England's economy, culture, and political structure. Wealth shifted overnight, entire social classes were displaced, and the language of power itself changed. In the modern world, similar transformations are possible, not from knights, but from algorithmic traders, global corporations, and sovereign wealth funds. Three core impacts resonate today. Wealth follows, innovation and force. In 1066, victory on the battlefield equaled economic control. Today, victory in AI, quantum computing, or digital finance could yield similar dominance. Cultural and economic integration. Norman rule fused England into continental Europe's network. Modern economic conquest integrates markets under the influence of the strongest digital economies. Failure to adapt leads to loss. Harold A.S. exhaustion mirrors modern economies that cling to outdated systems. Nations or companies ignoring AI or digital finance risk irrelevance. Global trade shocks, digital blackouts, or shifts in energy markets could trigger wealth transfers as dramatic as 1066, but invisible to the eye. Dr. Eleanor Sharp, economic historian. In 1066, land was wealth. In 2035, data and algorithms are the new land. Whoever owns them wins the future. James Whitmore, financial analyst. The Battle of Hastings is the perfect metaphor. We're on the brink of a digital conquest. Markets can shift in hours, toppling centuries-old institutions. Fictional AI historian, 2035. Projection. History doesn't repeat, it transforms. The victors of 2035 will likely be nations or corporations that mastered AI, cyber defense, and financial innovation. Their warnings align. Modern Hastings will be fought in the cloud, in code, and in global finance. By 2035, the next Battle of Hastings will likely be fought without swords, arrows, or horses. But its consequences could be just as profound. This is the era of silent conquests, where victories are achieved in financial markets, digital infrastructures, and algorithmic decision-making. Digital conquest. Nations or megacorporations will dominate by mastering AI-driven finance, creating global digital currencies, and controlling trade flows. Imagine a scenario where a company like a tech giant introduces an unbreakable financial ecosystem, forcing other nations to adapt or be left behind. Wealth redistribution. Just as Norman lords replaced Anglo-Saxon nobility overnight, 2035 could see traditional banks, governments, and even wealthy elites lose influence to decentralized systems. AI-driven markets and smart contracts could bypass old financial structures entirely. Economic fortress building. Nations and corporations will construct secure digital castles to protect assets, data, and infrastructure. Cybersecurity will be as vital as medieval stone walls, and economic resilience will become a nation's true defense. Global power shifts. Emerging powers with advanced technology and resource strategies will challenge long-standing economic leaders. The US and UK may face the modern equivalent of Norman invasions, not with swords, but with disruptive innovations. Invisible wars. Unlike 1066, 2035 conflicts may play out without physical destruction. Instead, silent battles for control over data, supply chains, and global capital flows could reshape the balance of power in a single day. The key lesson is this: those who fail to adapt will lose everything, often without even realizing the battle has begun. The Battle of Hastings was a one-day event with centuries-long consequences. Wealth moved, power shifted, and history turned a new page. As we stare toward 2035, the lesson is clear: adapt or be conquered. Who will be the William the Conqueror of our era? A nation, a corporation, or an AI-driven empire? Comment your thoughts below. Subscribe for more and join us in exploring how history and wealth collide. Follow us on YouTube, Epic Wealth and History for insights.